First review of the day is going to be for The Meg 2, The Trench. This is a sequel to the first Meg film. We have a different director taking up the helm. This time it's Ben Wheatley. Ben Wheatley, who did movies Kill List and Free Fire. And this is, again, Jason Statham is back as, what's his character's name again? Generic action man.
Jason Statham.
Jason
Taylor.
Statham.
Generic action white man.
Yeah, Jonas Taylor. He's back as this Jonas Taylor. Like if you've seen many Jason Statham movies, you've probably seen this one before, this character before. So he's back there as character Jonas Taylor from the first film. You also have some other returning people from the first film, like the little girl who was there. She's back again, this time a little bit older. She's like a preteen now. You also have the character DJ Paige Kennedy, who's back in this. You also have Cliff Curtis, who is also in the first movie. He's back. Now, this film, it's a joint, American and Chinese production. So you're going to get a lot of Chinese actors in this, just like the same thing with the first movie. One of the newer additions to the cast, Jin Woo, is in this. He's related to some of the actors in the first movie. He's the brother of the characters.
Su-yin.
Yeah, he's the Su-yin. So he's the brother of her and the son of the father in that movie.
Winston Chow, who played Min Wei Zhang, and he's the uncle to the little girl.
Yes, yeah, he's the uncle to the little girl. So I only watched The Meg when it first came out, which The Meg first came out in 2018, I remember.
2018, you're right.
2018. Now, did they die from the shark attack in that one, or did they?
No.
I completely.
Okay, no. Su-yin, the actress who plays her, I think it's been Miss Bing Bong. I believe that's her name. I'm not sure. She's a famous actress in China, anyways. So she probably just saw this and went, "Nah, no thanks." Because she didn't die. Li Bingbing didn't die in the original movie. She again, apologize if I butchered anyone's name. I didn't have the name in front of me, but she didn't perish. So you're like, oh, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, she's not here. She died off screen, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
dang,
okay, yeah, because I was trying to remember that if they died or not. Because in this it states that she died and the father died.
The father died. We saw that on screen, but she didn't. And I guess she's like, yeah, I'm not renewing my contract.
Okay. All right.
One Meg was enough for her.
Yeah.
So
Li Bingbing has won she's won Golden Horse Awards and Huey Bio Awards and 100 Flower Awards. So she's pretty good in China, and she's been in a lot of different movies. So it's like, I was a get then. You're not getting me again now.
Yeah. Okay. So the first Meg, if I remember correctly, how I felt about it, I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's whatever, kind of dumb fun type situation here. You got your big megalodon creature feature type movie that you have, and Jason Statham as generic gruff action man is gonna take on the big shark or whatever in the fight it. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I was kind of surprised when it got a sequel, and it seems like with this sequel they kind of drifted away of why people are even here to see this to begin with the big giant shark and human beings fighting the big giant shark. So what's going on in this sequel is the movie kind of opens up. Jason Statham's character is basically, as they state in the movie, like a Greenpeace James Bond. Like he's a eco friendly kind of James Bond. He's going around to all these different places, stopping eco-terrorism, people dumping waste into the water, saving animals, that type of thing kind of going on. And it's a lot of also exploring the trench, as the movie suggests, a lot of the crew that he worked with in the last movie, exploring the depths of the ocean. and kind of all the different creatures there, and creatures that kind of come up from exploring the trench, as you'll see in the movie. And also they have a pet megalodon in there as well in this movie that they kind of trained, so to speak, to some degree. And then there's this rival kind of company coming in there who's, taking a lot of tech. And that's kind of one of the main kind of things going on in this movie. Why I say they diverted from kind of the shark stuff is that there's like this rival kind of competitor that they have. It's some, kind of cackling evil kind of villain, cartoonishly villain type woman here, who's kind of controlling things and having a rival for them to kind of go against. And it's like, hey, I want to use, you're all about being eco-friendly. I'm trying to use these materials down in the ocean to make a big profit. So that's where they kind of come into conflict with them. And you still get some good, I think, kills in here that are pretty effective. I'm going to get into later some of my positives of the movie, but I'm going to throw it around to these guys, get their opinion on the Meg 2. So, Marley, what is your thoughts on the Meg 2, the trench?
I was going into it kind of on a positive note, just because I recently rewatched like the first Meg and some of the behind the scenes, and I forgot how much I really liked the first Meg, like, a lot. And hearing John Turteltaub kind of like talking about like making that film, how he was like a fan of like monster movies like in general, and him kind of like finally getting to make like a true monster movie. And that's what the first Meg really is. Like the Meg is like, it's really just about like this giant shark terrorizing like these human beings, and just kind of like the kills that go along with it. The thing that I don't like, the thing that I don't like about the Meg 2 is that it tries to like go broader with that, like you just said, like kind of like doing like this whole Greenpeace like James Bond, and it totally sidelines like the megalodon, which is the whole reason why you're going to see like the Meg 2. And it almost seems like the first Meg made, I think, like $500 million like internationally. It's almost like this Chinese like studio basically just said like the first one made like $500 million, so we have to do a sequel to this, or like we would be stupid not to. So it just really just seems like a cash grab for me. And if you've seen like the trailer, like you're playing the trailer like right now, like pretty much most of like the action shots are already in the trailer, and you don't really there's nothing really here for you. Like I think like seeing it on the big screen, like it was fine. It's just, I don't know. I just came away completely underwhelmed.
Dusk, do you agree?
Yeah, well, we come here to watch. The first Meg was all about, oh no, it's a big megalodon and it shouldn't be here, but it is. Monster ensues, and that's pretty much the movie. It took itself kind of seriously, but it knew why people were there. They were to see the giant Meg and have to deal with it. And Jason Statham did his action guy thing, and yeah, in this movie, while that does happen, it really doesn't happen until really the last 30 minutes, I'd say, where it kind of gives the audience what it's been wanting. And bear in mind, this is almost this is a 2-hour movie, and in the last 30, it finally gets around to kind of giving up the goods. Beforehand, a lot of it is talking about different. We gotta go down to this area where these megalons are, exploring this area. And then they have this rival company that they don't even know about until about midway through the movie. And it just gets bogged down by the human element, unfortunately. And none of these characters are well written. None of them are that. I didn't really feel that much emotion for many of them. They bring some of the characters up, and while it's nice to have some of the actors back, that's not why we're gonna watch this movie. And I thought, especially when you get into the trench, I'm sorry, but most of it is in pitch black, aside from some red lights, and I don't really see a lot of action happening. The action happens in there, but I can't see what's happening, so I'm not that invested in it. A lot of it is overwhelming. That's almost always the difficulty when dealing with underwater effects. I know it's done in CGI trying to hide the effects work. But water is notoriously difficult to do in CGI, so My heart goes out to the artists who are involved in it, but that it just doesn't lead to a very interesting um, environment just because of the nature of it.
Mm. Yeah. I'm gonna start off with some positives with this
Sure.
movie. I mean, if you like Jason Statham and what he does and his whole
Hmm.
thing, I mean, he's kind of he can do this in his sleep, basically.
He practically does.
Yeah. I mean, I guess his gruff leading man type thing. Okay, he kind of does that effectively. Um, when I talk about, there's some good kills here. There's some, I think, really effective one. There's one where we're in like a shark's POV and he's going and chomping, what I mean, kind of human beings in the water, which I think is really good. There's a scene where they're underwater in the trench, and then somebody's like head explodes because of the pressure. I thought that was a really good scene. I thought that was pretty effective. So I think there's some good kills here that are fun to watch. It just takes sometimes with the sharks, it takes a minute to get there because we're busy doing this whole kind of human element thing of them, these people trying to hunt them down and kind of kill them because they don't want them to, expose them. Which again, I said that's really one of the biggest faults of this movie is that it's taken away from that. A lot of the characters, I mean, they're just flat really. I mean, there's not a whole lot of dimension to them, I don't think. Even some of the returning people, like you have Paige Kennedy, who's DJ. I kind of liked a little bit of him, because he experiences some growth because he's like, after that first movie, he was like, hey, listen, I took some karate lessons, I took some swimming lessons at the YMCA. I'm pretty good now. I'm I'm a little bit more effective, but he gets kind of just reduced down to catchphrases. You know what I mean? He says,
Honestly, yeah.
he says like, what does he say? Come get some and got him and all this. It's like, it's basically like action movie, video game type catchphrases, which is kind of lame. And then, yeah, they don't really know what to really do with him besides that. So it just kind of comes off as not really that funny. A lot of the dialogue really is, I mean, I get with this movie like this, it's not going to be the strongest, but I mean, did you even really try? I mean, come on. And as far as like seeing it in theaters, it's like this is something that is just what one level above maybe something you'd see on the Sci-Fi Network, where you could watch it and just sit at home and do it instead of going to a theater to do it. I don't think it's really maybe all that worth it. Pass it around again, Marley. It's more from you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just think that a lot of it like I just said, it's like it's an easy cash grab for like China to just be like the first one made $500 million, so let's just get all the returning cast, which is kind of like a surprise. It is very surprising to me. Besides, like the person that we mentioned that didn't return, or it was the two characters that didn't return because they just said like one was enough for me, but usually like when you have like a B movie like type movie like this, it's usually like a whole new cast. So I'm actually kind of surprised Jason Statham like returned for this as well. And he is doing like the typical like Jason Statham kind of like just stuff that know from him, but it's just, I don't know. This film feels like it's four different movies kind of like going on at the same time. You have Jason Statham doing his thing, and then you have like the underwater stuff, which I totally agree with you, Dust. Like it was just totally like I found it really hard to tell like what was going on too, and it really felt like it was just shot like on a soundstage, not even like underwater, like in a pool. It just felt like it really felt like a volume like set, which it probably was.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but with the kind of Chinese influence here, it feels like because it is such a co-production, they were like, okay, we get it. You have to have Jason Statham's not, he's not American. No, he's not American.
No.
He's British. So you have to have your main action star, who's here that, is there a part of the production, but then also we have to have our guy. And I felt like they were really heavily pushing Jing Woo here, because he's almost basically almost like a co-lead here, and trying to, it's like, okay, we got to give him some big action moments too, and give him some cool stuff. I felt like they were really pushing that heavy here, and I don't think it was. I mean, even though they inserted that, Chinese going to have their Chinese actors here, did it feel kind of heavier here with him in there as opposed to the last movie? Get your opinion on that, Dustin.
So in the first Meg, that was always that was just out in the forefront. It was a cooperation between China and the other team, and so it was because they're in international waters. It was a co-op, so it felt more organic that these different scientist groups were working together to kind of work in collaboration to try and go deep sea exploring, and where they usually this territory isn't really done with their construction of their site. With this one, it did feel a bit more, especially with the insertion of the uncle and the removal of the actress who played Soo-yoon. It did feel like there was a bit of okay, you're being a little forced here. This is getting a little forced here. Honestly, I'm shocked that one of the characters didn't turn out to be a villain with how much they were pushing it. And I was genuinely shocked that it's like, oh, this character's just actually going to be a good guy all the way through. And the traders kind of come a mile away at the very beginning, it does feel like the most we got to put China in here. I want to make this is a small attention to detail, but I noticed when he's talking to his niece at one point, he points up to a sign, and it's written in calligraphy. It's written in Chinese. And from my small experience overseas, that is the worst calligraphy I have seen on a poster that was supposed to be above. Like the entire calligraphy in Chinese characters were like they did that in chicken scratch. That is the equivalent of them just let's get over there on the poster. Now that let me know the tone of it right there and there, and how much of a budget you have. It's like allegedly his grandfather, aka a character, or his father, a character from the original movie, gave him this as like a way to inspire, or at least give him to him something. I'm like, wow, that was a terrible gift, because your father's handwriting was crap if that was the case. But that's a small detail for me from experience. And like when you write a calligraphy, it's a very meticulous art, and you take your time, and it's very expensive to have someone write it properly. And if it's a personal one, it's even more personal. And it just looked really quick. But that's a small detail most people are going to miss. But yeah, overall, I didn't really feel that much of it. He just felt like a character that was just inserted in case, because they needed someone else to do. Which unfortunately, I felt like then other characters were then put on the side. Like poor Cliff Curtis. He just didn't really have much to do. He kind of became more of the butt of the joke. And I like Cliff Curtis. I think he's a great actor. But yeah, he just kind of got pushed aside in this one. He plays the character Mac. And DJ, while I liked the idea that he had learned from his first experiences and be like, screw that, I have a survival pack. He ends up being clutch in many situations, but he gets treated like a joke through most of it. And that kind of takes away some of the fun from it. When he's actually being one of the most intelligent characters in the entire movie, he even says very early on, so we're going to go and explore an area that we don't know. In pitch blackness. This is stupid. Like, why are we doing this? But it's like, yeah, I guess we're gonna go.
I will agree with you that he is kind of like played off as a joke in this one, but like he also was played off as a joke in like the first one, but in a very more racist way, and this one is less racist.
True.
Because it was typical. It was like the typical like black character, like, oh, he can't swim and stuff like that. It's just like at least like they made like the characters swim in this and kind of like actually have him do something, and it felt less offensive.
Many people who probably saw this movie probably didn't remember any of that, and it probably didn't even click. It's like, oh, he didn't swim in the last movie? We just assumed that he did, because why wouldn't he? He's on the science team and being an oceanographer. You would assume that would just be bare minimum.
Yeah.
But I see your point.
Yeah. So
I literally just watched like the first one last night, just to, like, to get a refresher.
That's fair. That's fair. How do you guys feel about Sophia Chow? She is the teen in this one.
I don't. I mean, I don't want to be. I mean, this movie's not very good anyway, and nobody really, even experienced actors like Cliff Curtis, really isn't all that good.
No.
So You know, I kind of like her dynamic with Jason Statham. I think
Hmm.
I guess that's kind of cute. I guess.
It was like a leftover from the previous movie, and yeah, I think actually the dynamic of losing Siyun was like well, oh crap, what are we gonna do?
Right.
Because that was kind of a big thing for the first movie. I'm gonna be honest though, these two movies are based on books. This one was based on The Trench, and the first one was based on it. Both of them have been pretty laughable, honestly, in the oceanographer community and other communities. Even within fiction, they're like, okay, yeah, this is pretty ridiculous, but all right. So they were surprised that it got a movie in the first place, and it's even bigger that we're getting a sequel. And as for the little girl, yeah, I'm on the. This is like a Star Wars production. Everyone's not particularly looking great, at least. So she's doing okay with the best that she has, just like everybody else.
I,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb a little
Sure.
bit here, and like since I recently rewatched like the
Mhm.
first one, I think that Jason Statham is fine like in these movies, but I feel like both of these movies really suffer from the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift syndrome of like needing to cast like a white actor
Mm,
to kind of like appeal to like American audiences
yeah.
because everything about Joseph Taylor, aside from the name,
Hmm.
like everything about his character screams that he should be Asian.
He,
And
yeah.
I rewatching like the first one, even watching it here, I kept imagining like, what if this was Simu Liu,
Mm,
like just injected into this movie? I feel like it would. You wouldn't have like that kind of like the heart pounding like action that Jason Statham brings to like to every one of his movies, but I feel like their relationship would have been a lot more believable.
mhm.
Am I kind of like out of pocket for saying that, or I don't know?
No, no, I can see where you're coming from, especially when you're looking at it from a story point of view. That's actually something that's a holdover from the books, and the books are slightly different from the movie as well. Actually, Rated M for Immaturity brought up a good point. He asked if the books are smarter or if they're written in the same style. The books are both worse and better in different ways than the movie. The movie actually took a lot of stupid from the books and lowered that down. So if that lets you any know, sometimes the books are even worse or even dumber, and there are other things that they changed around for the co-production to work within it. So yeah, the Megs movies have been kind of a hodgepodge mess of both productions, ideas, and who they could get. But yeah, I'll agree with Josh most in forefront. This does feel like just a one step above a sci-fi original channel movie of Squid Shark or one of those Asylum movies. It just has a bigger budget.
Sharknado.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sharknado. But Sharknado knows it's a joke, and it embraces its joke.
And I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that the first film actually had too.
Hmm.
Like it knew that it was ridiculous that this is like a giant shark that is terrorizing people. And this one, like I said, it just took it a little bit too seriously.
Hmm.
And to be honest, like when the credits rolled and I saw Ben Wheatley's name, like directed by Ben Wheatley, I was just like, "What are you doing, Ben? Who
Yeah.
hurt you? Like, because
Trying to get that check.
Free Fire is like an incredible film. If anyone hasn't seen it, and I haven't seen Kill List in a really long time. I'm rewatching it tonight. I remembering it being like really great, but also kind of a mess like this. But it's also rewatchable.
Yeah. Yeah. Final thoughts, rating, Marlon?
Final thoughts. It's a Meg movie. Like what I don't know what else there is to say. It's like if you're into Jason Statham, I would like check it out. Like, but there's other better like Jason Statham movies that you can probably watch. Like even like I know what I'm just gonna say it. I would rather watch Hobbs and Shaw over the Meg 2, The Trench. To be honest, it's like
Oof.
it doesn't really. Or just rewatch like the first Meg, just because if you're into like monster movies like I am, like that I feel like the first Meg brings a lot more to the table like than this film. So
Mm. Dusk.
Yeah,
Final thoughts.
I guess I was with Marley on this. Yeah, this movie doesn't really add much to the already thin material that the first movie had. And what little it did have, it ended up, unfortunately, kind of wasting its potential. This could have been a fun, it could have been a fun, like, Statham versus Godzilla, or just like already in Maturity is bringing up, like a Statham versus Godzilla or versus Kong or something. Like, the poster has it where he has like a katana on a jet ski and he's going to face a shark. And you think that's the movie, and the trailers are going in. And really, it doesn't really occur until the last 30 minutes. And even then, it's not as great as much you think. It doesn't really fully embrace itself as just being complete schlock. There's a couple of moments with camera angles with the shark chomping down as like a conveyor belt of people is entering its gullet, and you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. That'd been fun if this was the whole movie. And I wanted it to almost be like Piranha 2 levels of schlock, but it never quite goes there. So it's this weird middling ground where it's too serious for the material it's into, but it's not serious enough if it wants to take itself as like a true thriller, or almost like a Jaws kind of a movie. So it's in that weird camp. So this movie's not something you see in a movie theater. No way. This is I'm going to give it a low, the lowest stream it I can possibly give it. If you're bored and you like the first Meg, you could probably deal with it. But other than that, for everyone else, maybe this might be just a skip it.
Yeah. 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 I don't think this is probably that good to see in theaters. I think maybe maybe it'd be better if you wait for this movie to come out on streaming, and then somebody can take it and then cut it up and make a compilation of all the kills in the movie. And then that would probably be better to watch. You know what I mean? Watch like a 10-15 minute compilation on YouTube of all the good kills in here. Because that's, like I said, some of that's fun. See some of those deaths. There's even a shark versus a giant octopus, which is kind of cool. It's like, okay, well, we should have had more of this in the movie, because that stuff is fine. There's really, like I said, it gets too bogged down on the human characters here when we're just here to see the giant shark kill a bunch of people and eat a bunch of people. That's what we're here for, not to see this stupid business rivalry kind of thing kind of going on. So yeah, so for me, I would give it a low. Am I going to give it a low stream it like Dusk? You know what? I think I'm going to give it a burn it. Probably just going to give it a burn it. Maybe. There. Actually, well, maybe just for the kills, maybe I'll give it a low stream.
The lowest stream it you possibly can.
Just for the kills. Because like I said, there's some fun shots in here. Even when Jason Statham's like on the jet ski and when he's got the harpoons and he's driving jet ski and all that other stuff, looks stupid as hell. A lot of the effects also aren't that good. Like I said, like I mean, these are probably the same level of effects you'll see in the sci-fi original movie. Like a lot of the effects really aren't that good either. But I know some of that's kind of fun, I guess, when he's on the jet ski and trying to fight 3 of the sharks. Like, okay, that's kind of fun, but. A lot of just missed opportunities. The trench scene where they got the suits on and they're in the water, under the water. That could have been a cool scene if you could see what was going on. That would have been really good. So yeah, low stream it for Meg 2.
And to piggyback on what you guys said about like the whole jet ski like scene that which is in the trailer, and I tweeted this out. Dead Reckoning did this, and the Meg 2 did this by putting like a big climactic like scene like in their trailer to like promote their movie. I need movies to stop doing this because it kind of like deflates like the entire movie that you're waiting for this like up until that, and then when you finally see that, I'm like, well, I've already saw that. So yeah, I'll give this about the lowest stream it possible. Like if it's on Tubi, check it out on Tubi. Don't pay for a streaming service. So yeah.
Oh man, good old Tubi.
This is a Saturday evening, beer in hand, nothing else is on movie. Marathon. It's a shark marathon, and you're all the other better shark movies have come up, and now you're hitting the middle stuff. And the Meg was previously, and then the commercial goes, or the next streaming goes, and the Meg 2 is coming up right after this. You're like, I haven't seen the Meg 2. All right, I'll grab another beer. Why not?
Oh, the remote is so far away.
Exactly. And you're just like, I don't like it's not so bad enough to make me to change the channel. So like, all right, I'll watch the bit too. And then you come out of it going like, the kills were all right.
Yeah. I don't know. This is coming out against TMNT. TMNT probably will win out. I'm probably
he's going to destroy this.
I think Barbie's just going to come out of it, to be honest. So, but
you think Barbie's gonna? Yeah. You think it's still going to remain
$400 million domestic for Barbie already? So it's like,
yeah, it's killing it. Yeah.
yeah.
So that was the Meg 2, The Trench.